One of the fun things that I do is I get rejected. I've gotten rejected a lot this year. I want to become the greatest motivational speaker of all time. That's my goal. Yeah. So I've been pitching a lot of stages, and people may see me on Instagram and be like, oh, you're doing it. I'm like, yeah, but you should see all of the stages that I get told no that I pitch. And so I have an album in my photo album of screenshots of all of my rejection emails, for emails where I got rejected.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. After a 14-season run as a co-host on VH1 and a successful career as a Broadway actress, my next guest co-founded Super Connector Media, a full-service PR agency and events companies which was awarded the Best New Agency in the 2019 Bulldog Awards and is one of the Inc. 5,000 fastest-growing private companies in America for 2022. Jen's ultimate passion is helping experts and entrepreneurs gain the confidence and knowledge to get into the mainstream media or on the stage of that major event, giving them the authority and social proof to place them at the top of their industry. She speaks around the world to entrepreneurs and has been featured on numerous top podcasts, as well as in Forbes, Business Insider, Shape, Women's Health, Well and Good, CBS, Good Morning America, PBS, and in Goop as one of the top 11 professionals helping people find satisfying, successful careers. Please welcome the incredible Jen Gottlieb. Oh, I'm loving this. So my background is the We Wild Woman fluorescent sign with some, I think they're called snake plants. And then you have Manhattan.
Manhattan. Yeah, that's my real background. It's not a Zoom background. It's such a gorgeous day today. Well, it's kind of a fake gorgeous day because it's freezing, but it looks really sunny and perfect. So.
It does look almost tropical.
Yeah. Almost.
If you had a plant there, I would
don't go outside.
Yeah, no, same here. I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but it's minus 34 here. So that is 34 degrees below freezing. It's so cold that if you throw a pot of boiling water in the air, it instantly freezes and vaporizes.
Wait, so Dan's going to go walk for 12 hours in that?
Well, it's going to warm up. Yeah, we're just having this, it's called a polar vortex. We have in Canada these fancy terms where essentially the Arctic comes down and takes over all of Canada and then it goes away. So then it's +4 the day he actually does this 12-hour walk.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you ever were to come and visit, tell me ahead of time and I'll give you the right months to come up here because I don't come now.
Vortex, I'm good.
Yeah, the vortex. Okay, so quick questions for you. I'd love to know, where are you from?
Originally, so I was born in Chicago, Illinois. So I was born. And then I grew up in South Florida. So right around the Parkland, Boca Raton area, like south, like hour north.
There. That's, well, I guess kind of just there. It's where Tony lives. Tony Robbins. Tony, my BFF. Yeah, we just did the Date with Destiny.
Did he do it at the Boca Raton Hotel?
No, he did it at his new studio,
cool.
Which is insane. But it's like, I forget, we flew into like Fort Lauderdale area. So cool. Yeah, I love Florida.
Yeah, same.
What was one of the toughest moments you had to experience as an entrepreneur?
You just kick-started off pretty good.
I know, right?
Moments that I had to experience.
Straight to the punch in the face.
Okay. So I always like to, of course, the toughest moments as an entrepreneur they always end up being the most powerful moments of growth, right? Always, no matter what. You don't always know it in the moment, but they always end up being some special gift in disguise. And the one that immediately comes to my mind as one of the toughest moments, but also the greatest gifts, is the first time that I ever had to sell something from stage. And this was, so you know that Chris and I, when you met me, I was not partners in business with my now husband, Chris. We were not partners. He did his thing. I did my thing. And somewhere, very shortly after I met you, we decided to come together and like really build this company into something bigger together. And Chris was doing these events by himself before I was part of the company called Unfair Advantage Live. And they were these great events that connected entrepreneurs to the media. But at the beginning of when these events started, when it was just Chris, it was literally Chris, a screen, a clicker, and an audience. And that was it. There was no music. It was no show. It was like Chris taught stuff. And then he brought in some media people and they connected with the entrepreneurs. And it was great. And so I decided to come in and do these events with him. And we made it a little bit more of a production, a tiny bit, not what it is right now, but a little bit more because, of course, I'm a performer and that's what I brought to it. And this specific event, we decided to have a back end product. We were going to sell something for the first time. Before, he had never sold anything ever. And so I was like, I've been speaking, like performing on stages as an actress my whole life. Like I could totally sell this thing from stage, right? I knew nothing about selling from stage. I knew nothing about selling, but I was like, how hard could it be? I'll read the slides. I'll say a few things, like, great. I didn't practice. I didn't run through it, nothing. I'm like, I'm going to be great. So I get on stage to sell this, like, I think it was like an 8-week program or whatever it was that we were offering as our first offering at this event. Little did I know that there was strategy behind this. And I got on stage with the clicker and the screen and I started reading the slides and I completely, like, if you want to say like, it was so bad, Renee, like I tripped over my heel. I didn't know what the slide said. I skipped over a few of them. I was like, it was so bad. People were staring at me like I was a comedian bombing. You know how bad you feel when a bombing?
Throw tomatoes at you.
Completely. And I was just like, and the worse that it got, like the worse I felt. And then I was like stumbling over my words and stuttering. And it was so bad that when I was done sharing what this offer was, like all over the place, completely wrong, incorrect, messing it up, physically messing up, like tripping everywhere, there were these gift bags on the stage. And the whole plan was to say, okay, everyone that wants to sign up, come on stage and get your gift bag. So I go, okay, everyone that wants to sign up, come on the stage and get your bag. No one moved. Okay, the whole room of like 125 people is completely silent. Everyone feels terrible for me. It was horrible. Chris is like this. My team is like crying. I'm like, tears are welling up in my eyes. I just ruined this entire event, ruined the show. And so nobody comes up. My chief publicity officer, Angela, who ran our PR agency, comes up on the stage and basically starts begging everyone to sign up. She's like, please sign up. It was just the most cringeworthy, horrible moment of my life. Okay. So I go backstage after this happens. I can't even talk to Chris. I can't even face him. I look at myself in the mirror in the bathroom and I'm like, you have 2 options right now. You can either leave the building, like literally walk out and leave and never come back because this is clearly, you just really screwed this up. Or you can figure out some crazy way to shift your energy and just get over it and move on. And at that time, that event had no music. There was like a DJ in the back that did like walk-on songs and walk-off songs for like, you know, Chris or the speakers or like background music. And I thought, okay, I have to shift my energy. I can't leave. I have to do something. So I didn't tell anybody I was doing this, but I go up to the DJ. And for me, you know, I'm a performer. The only way that I can shift my energy is like to dance and move and have music. So I had this idea and I was like, okay, DJ, I want you to play this song, the Justin Timberlake song, Can't Stop the Feeling. You know that song?
Yeah.
I got this feeling. Yeah, okay. So I'm like,
down my soul.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Play the song when we get back from lunch the whole way through. All right. Like just play it really loud. He's like, okay. Cause he saw how bad I pooped the bed on stage during that thing. And he was like, all right, I don't know if I should listen to you, but okay, I'll play the song. So we all come back from lunch. We had 0 sales. Everyone was freaking out. And everyone's like sitting at their table. The energy's kind of dull. And I'm like, all right, DJ, go, like hit the music. And he plays the music and I come in and I'm like, all right, everybody get on your feet. And I make everybody get up. And all of a sudden we have this huge, massive dance party. People are dancing on the tables. Everyone's like coming onto the stage. We're all dancing our faces off, the entire room. Like the energy shifts. Everyone's having a party, having the best time ever. I'm like dancing my face off because I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to lose my mind here and completely dance and go crazy. And we created this huge dance party. Now, what did that do? Number one, it shifted the energy of the room. It put me back in control. We ended up making a ton of sales after that because people were in a different mindset, a different mind frame. I erased what just happened and I got myself feeling better. So we ended up making over 7 figures at that event. Nice. So that was the first gift. But the second gift that ended up happening because I did that was now our events, if you ever look on Instagram at any of the events that we do, whether they be in Zoom or in person, Dance parties are part of our tradition. We have drummers, we have music, we have dancing. It's like part of our company ethos. And then also another gift that it gave me is I promised myself I would never be so terrible at selling from stage again. So I made sure that I was going to be the best person at pitching from stage ever to walk the planet. So I studied and studied and studied, and now I'm really great at it. It's one of my favorite skills and favorite things to do. So it was probably the hardest, most difficult moment of my life as an entrepreneur, most embarrassing, but also the greatest growth, the greatest lesson, and like the best hidden gift ever that could have been given to me.
That is a nightmare on stage. You can't hide. It's not like you can just turn off your camera. Wow. Well, good for you on coming back. And I know that in order to be great, we have to be okay at being mediocre when we start. And I mean, you didn't even make mediocrity. You're below that.
It was way below. I wish you were there to see it. Like
No, you described it very well. I did experience it. Thank you. That is like, I mean, they say public speaking is more feared than death. And not only were you doing it, but you were tripping over yourself. You came back and look at you now. You could probably sell anything. As they say, you can sell ice to the Eskimos, right?
I'm pretty good at it. And now, and motivational speaking is my jam. That's what I love now. But you have to fail a bunch and you have to get to the bottom, I believe, in order to really feel that contrast of like, how great it can be. Because if you don't really mess up, then you never know how good the good can be. So I'm always grateful when I look backwards at the contrast, like, because if I didn't have that moment, none of the goodness would be as good. Now I'm like, every time I win, like, I know how bad it could be. This was really good.
Exactly. And even in that moment, which you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to do this again.
Yeah.
You corrected yourself and you came back, but it's probably not nearly as terrifying going back because you're like, I already did the worst thing that could possibly happen on stage, other than my dress falling off. But maybe you felt that way anyway. And now you're just incrementally getting better every single time you're on a stage.
Yeah. I mean, I felt completely naked. And what I always say is confidence comes from consistently sticking with the commitments you make with yourself. And the more difficult and uncomfortable and scary those commitments are, like coming back on stage after failing, or, getting on stage and pitching for the first time, even though you've never done it, or doing a Facebook Live for the first time ever, even though you've never done it. Every single time you say you're going to do something that's hard and you get to the other side, you realize you didn't die. You put another coin in the confidence bank. You become more confident. So then the next time you go to do that thing, it's not as scary. The only way to the other side is through. And discomfort's temporary. It doesn't last forever. But the growth that comes from the other side is permanent. You become more confident over time. So people that never stretch and never do the scary thing because they're too scared, they never become more confident. They always just stay in the fear. But successful people are professionals, and you know this, at doing things with fear in the passenger seat of the car. Like, okay, fear is going to be here, but I'm going to go and I'm going to do it anyway because I know that once I've gotten through, I'm going to have less fear the next time I go to do it.
100%. And you know what happens most of the time on the other side of this is everybody says, that wasn't so bad. We always overthink these moments and then we're in it. And like most of the time it's because we care, but we're also fearing the failure. And we come out the other end, we're like, oh geez, that wasn't so terrible. I could do that again.
Even if we do fail, the failure doesn't ever really feel as bad as the fear of the failure. And also, we're never necessarily really scared of failing. We're more so scared of other people seeing us fail or judging us when we fail. And the cool thing is that when we fail, we realize that people aren't really paying that much attention to us anyways. People are worried about themselves. They're not that worried about you. They don't care that much.
Nope.
So it's always good to see that when you fail, number one, you can always fix it. You can always bring it back. Like Marie Forleo always says, everything is figure outable. It really is, right? Time doesn't stop. I got my first tattoo. It's so teeny tiny, but it says time on my wrist because it's my reminder to me that time never stops. So whatever discomfort you're in, no matter what, it's going to end. Even if you're in a beautiful, magical, amazing moment, that moment's going to end. So you either need to be completely present in that moment and absorb it and milk it and be in it because time will stop. You'll end up in your bed. You'll end up the next day before you know it. Or if something's hard, like a workout, you know this, like it hurts, it's hard, it's painful, but it's not forever. Yeah. Time will go on. You'll end up in your bed. You'll end up waking up the next day and it'll feel like it was a second ago. So time never stops. And that is just such a great reminder for me whenever I'm in the thick of it and it doesn't feel so good. I'm like, you can be here because it will end and it will be okay. And on the other side, I'll be like, oh, that wasn't even that bad.
It's like jumping into the cold plunge. We got a freezer that we've filled with cold water and you're in it for like 10 seconds. You're like, this is the worst feeling ever. And you think it's going to be forever, but it's only 10, 20, 30 seconds. the time you get out and you start warming up, guess what? You feel better than you did before you went in.
Of course.
It's almost like that cold shock or the painful shock or the embarrassing shock is like that thing you need to actually feel good again.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And this just reminded me of something that happened today. I looked into my Facebook memories, and it's so funny to do that because now it's like 15 years ago, because Facebook's been around for a long time now. And I had a memory from 15 years ago when I used to post everything that I did. Like back in the day, we used to say like, Jen is happy because
Yes.
So this was 15 years ago. And I wrote down, today was the worst day of my life. Okay. This was 15 years ago. I wrote that. I looked at that this morning. I actually screenshotted it. I sent it to Chris. Do you want to know something, Renee? I have no idea what happened to me that day. No clue. Nope. It was the worst day of my life. And today I can sit here and say to you, honestly, if you could pay me $1 million, I couldn't tell you what happened to me that day. I don't remember.
Yeah. You're like, but it was the worst day ever. You were in your 20s. Everything is the worst day of your life. If your clothes don't match. I get it. I love this. Okay. So for those of you who don't know Jen, she is this strong, powerful, beautiful soul of which I've had the honor to watch over the last 12 months, see these most incredible moments come to light for Jen. Cover of magazine, getting married, selling half your business.
An arm of our company, yeah.
Right, an arm of your company. And what else? I'm missing all of these things. And we were talking about this before we press record, how a lot of people, that's all they see. But what they don't see is all these little moments, these micro moments of you building up who you are today that took you years to get to where you are. And you have a podcast too that you launched in the fall, right?
Yeah.
So a couple months ago. What's it called?
I Dare You.
I Dare You. And there's one story that I love is how, I want you to explain it. The story about how you would walk from like downtown Manhattan to uptown. Tell us that story. I love it.
So I still do this. And now I actually have named what this strategy is. It's so funny because I launched one of my podcasts, went out today talking about this topic. So it's perfect we're talking about this today. So back in the day when I was single and I was a personal trainer living in Manhattan, and I had this dream of meeting my soulmate, and I was dating in New York City, and it was terrible. I was like on the apps, it was just like not fun. Okay. So, my life was good. I had like a nice personal training business. I was like starting to think about becoming an entrepreneur but I really just wanted to find love. I just knew in my heart that like this guy existed out there and we were going to like become a power couple. That was always like my vision. And all my friends would be going out on Saturday nights, or like I would have all these like people on the app that I could go out with on Saturday nights. And I was like, you know what, screw it. I would rather do this thing that I do that I didn't really tell anybody I was doing. I'd be like, I'm busy. So I'd get on the subway, and on a Saturday night, I would take it all the way downtown. I lived on the Upper West Side, which I still do now. And I'd get out at a random stop, like 14th Street, I don't know, Greenwich Village, all the way down, maybe even sometimes FiDi, like Financial District, which is like all the way down, try back up.
Yeah.
And I'd get off and I'd put on my headphones and I would walk all the way back. And I would just watch the city change. This would be at like 7:00 at night. And I would just like walk all the way back uptown to like, where I lived on 72nd and Broadway. And I would watch the city change. And as I would walk, I would visualize that I was walking as the person that had everything that I wanted. So I would walk as if my soulmate, my big, handsome, hunky, 6-foot-tall entrepreneur from the Upper West Side with tattoos, that was into personal development. And like he was walking next to me, holding my hand. And we were just walking back from a date night. And I was just feeling the way he would make me feel. And when I would do that, I would actually make my body feel like I was in love. And there was this person walking next to me. And I would like be on a date with someone. And in New York, it's totally cool if you talk to yourself, because no one thinks about anything. Like, oh yeah, she's talking to herself. That's great. Normal New Yorker. So I would be like, listening to my music and like walking with my date. And sometimes I would walk as if we were, we had this successful business, and I would visualize all the things that I wanted to be on these walks. And I wouldn't just think about them. I would embody them. And I would walk around as the person that had those things. And that did a lot for me. A couple of things that it did for me in the moment, if you're thinking about trying this, now I call them wonder walks. I gave them a name because I do it all the time, even now when I need to feel better, to get unstuck, to get motivated, to fix a problem, to manifest what I want. But what it would do is it got me really familiar with the way that I would feel when I would meet the person that I was meant to be with. So anytime I went on a bad date with someone that wasn't the guy, I would be like, oh, you're not the guy. I'm my guy. I go and walk with him every day. It's not you. That's cool. So I wouldn't be anxious about it. And then when he did come into my life, and get this, Renee, Chris and I on our second date went on a walk from the restaurant that we went to that was downtown, and we walked all the way back up to the Upper West Side together. we walked the exact same street that I would walk by myself.
Wow.
And this time I was walking that exact way, seeing the exact same sights. And the guy was actually next to me.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
And the feeling that I was feeling when I would walk by myself was the same feeling that I had when he was walking next to me. And that's when I knew. It was like, oh, this feeling, this is it. I know. And so I don't know if I magically made it appear by visualizing it, but I know that my subconscious knew the feeling so strongly that when the thing appeared, I was able to receive it. And I was like,
when it appeared, you knew that was it.
That's it.
Right.
So I didn't
I love that.
away. I didn't do all the things that a lot of us girls do sometimes when we get scared. I was like, come on in, hubby. You're mine. Like,
Hubby.
It's on. Like, I know that this is right.
Oh my gosh, it's so magical. Imagine we could do that for all of these challenging parts of our life, in our business, personal life, with our money too.
Oh my God. I do it now to this day.
I did the high five habit with Mel Robbins. Like, this is silly high-fiving myself in the mirror. And I kind of tweaked it. I would actually put both hands on the mirror and look at myself and be like, you are a winning CrossFit athlete. You are a CrossFit athlete. Because my whole life I've been this tall, skinny, weak girl that some people joked about didn't even look like she did yoga. And I was like, okay, so it's challenging for me, but I can do this. And I kept doing it. And then sure enough, I finally came third in a competition. First one I signed up for. So yeah, I believe in manifestation. I believe in you create positive imagery of what it is you want to achieve. And you keep thinking that. And then when that thing shows up, it's like, oh, there it is. It's right in front of me. I'm going to take that. It's mine now.
Yeah. Well, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real memory and a fake one. So if you can create the fake memory in your subconscious, like you are a CrossFit athlete. Your subconscious started to believe that because you made it believe it, right? By thinking about it and believing that it was yours and saying it to yourself a bunch of times. So what that does is when you go to the competition, the fear is less. You have more belief, right? Your subconscious is the thing that's driving the bus. And if it believes that you're the champion, it's going to actually help you take action in the way that's going to get you to the thing that you want because you have that belief that you've solidified in your subconscious. It's like, oh, I already did this. This is mine.
You know what else is crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I totally believe this. And you were so bang on this. What else is crazy that happened that day was that there's a Canadian CrossFit athlete. His name is Brent Fikowski. He's the taller of the CrossFit athletes that actually go to the games. So he came like second a few years in a row. He's world renowned. And because every CrossFit athlete that goes to a games has to be affiliated to some gym. And he lives here in Kelowna, Canada. And he's affiliated with our gym. But he doesn't work out at the gym because he's a pro. He has his own gym at home. No one ever sees him. This was the only time I've been working out at this gym for 2 years. The only time I've ever met him in person is he came out to that competition. I didn't know he was there. And after I was like coming off the floor and like some of the other coaches were like, hey, we need a judge for the next event. Can someone judge? I'm like, yeah, I know how to judge. And I saw him and I'm like, wait, is that really him? Because he's like a person I idolize in the space. I totally love this guy. He's like this goofy, nerdy, they call him the accountant as a joke because he is or was an accountant, became a pro CrossFit athlete. Anyway, afterwards, I went up to him like old Renee would have been like, nope, he's a busy, famous person. I don't want to bug him. But I was like, screw this, Renee. And I went up to him like, Brent, nice to meet you. Can I just say, I absolutely love watching you at the games because we've gone to Madison a couple times to watch these athletes. He sat with me for like 12 minutes and we just chatted about life and Tony Robbins and all this stuff. And he goes, oh, and good job out there. I was watching you work out. Way to hustle. And I'm like, imagine meeting your idol saying, good job. But it's almost like I manifested him being there because when I saw him, I was surprised that he was there, but there wasn't like, it's almost like I expected him to be there for some reason. That's exactly right.
Yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Because you reprogram yourself to expect all the opportunities and then when they come, it's like, oh yeah, here we go. You're not as scared. You're not as nervous. You'll go right up to them because you expected it.
Hey ladies, before we continue with Jen, I want to tell you about my morning practice planner. I know, my planner again. But let me just say, Jen talks about her best year blueprint, and I encourage you to all go and download it at thebestyearblueprint.com. It's incredible. I printed it out and super helpful. The recording for her live masterclass was back in December. However, if you haven't already done the work for preparing for 2023, you should do it now. So after this episode is done, take 30 minutes to an hour out of your day to get something down on paper. It has to be achievable and it has to be a little bit outside your comfort zone, or else you just won't do it. Now, Jen is an incredible soul. She's accomplished a lot over the course of her career, but this past year was big for her because a lot of things came to fruition. And what I know, the truth about women like Jen is that they create the plan and they keep going. And as we say in this recording, the last mile is never crowded. It's because those that are the winners, those that succeed in life, in their relationships, and their wealth, are always the ones that are pushing themselves that last mile where there is nobody else hanging out. And so this is why I encourage you to go grab yourself a copy of Morning Practice Planner if you haven't already done so. It's a 6-month planner that I've created that helps you achieve the most productive version of yourself. And it's not just daily pages. There's actually an exercise at the beginning of the planner that takes you through how to make better decisions, how to create values and mission statements, to establish your goals, all in line with what you want to achieve for the year. So head on over to morningpracticeplanner.com. Go check it out. Grab yourself and your sister a copy, and we will get back to my interview with Jen. Let's go on this because I know I got this from your husband. Oh, I can say that. Your husband taught me this, although I know it's not his quote, but he always says the last mile is never crowded.
Yeah, the extra mile. Yeah.
Right? Because no one wants to go that last little bit because that's the hardest bit.
Yeah.
How do we know we're on the right path? This is the right move to make to keep pushing through that last mile. How do we know this? What are the signs? What are the feelings? Like, what's the data behind this? Because I know a lot of people, they'll launch a program or they'll start writing a book and maybe they publish something or they launch their program and it flops. But it's not to say that the book or the program sucks. It could be the best in the world, but they give up after the first try.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, we were just talking about this before we pressed record, all these things happened for you. And I'm like, well, the only reason that all these things ended up happening for me is because I kept going even when it wasn't working. And I think the key, I know this from personal experience. I'm not telling anybody that I don't know, anything that I don't know from something personal that happened to me. This is just my truth. When I decided that I wanted to go forward with either the book or producing a ton of content and building my audience or getting the podcast up or getting on the cover of the magazine or any of the things that I decided that I was going to do this year, selling the company, anything, it didn't work in the beginning. It rarely works right away. The difference between successful people and people that stop before they become successful is that successful people keep going consistently even when they fail. They are persistent. They don't stop. Right? If you're persistent and you don't stop until you get it, you'll eventually get it. But you may have to keep going and going and going and going and going and going. You have to want it so bad that it doesn't matter how many times you fail or how many times you hear no, you just keep going until it happens. And what I do to do that, because it's very hard to do that when you get rejected. I was an actress for years and years and years. My job was to get rejected every day. And I think that's why I'm so good at hearing no and going.
Right. That's why you're great at PR because you're like, no just means not now.
That's exactly right. So I always tell myself, okay, that's for me. That no was for me. Why was it for me? Instead of why is this happening to me? Why am I getting rejected? Why isn't this working? Okay, that didn't work for me. What did it teach me? That's my immediate thought. And you can reprogram your brain to think that if you do it enough. One of the fun things that I do is I've gotten rejected a lot this year. I want to become the greatest motivational speaker of all time. That's my goal. So I've been pitching a lot of stages and people may see me on Instagram and be like, oh, you're doing it. I'm like, yeah, but you should see all of the stages that I get told no that I pitch. And so I have an album in my photo album of screenshots of all of my rejection emails where I got rejected.
That's amazing. And I want to say this is when people actually have the time to say no to you, like the response saying, no, this isn't a good fit, it's one up because the other perspective is that they just don't even reply to you. So the fact that they rejected you is like a compliment.
Yeah.
It's like we see you, hear you, but not right now.
Yeah. Oh, no. And I've gotten a lot of really mean rejection emails too, that they don't realize they're being mean. Like, oh, we're dealing with the celebrities first and then we'll get to the regular people. Somebody said that to me. I'm the regular people. Fine. But I screenshot all of them and I put them in my album and I kind of make it a joke with myself. And instead of taking it personally, I'm like, this is going to be so fun when I am the greatest of all time. And I can go back and I can read all of these. And I go back and I read like, it just, if you turn it into no is just a hidden yes to something else, right? Like this no just means yes to something else. And it doesn't have to come from this person in this way. And you get really good at making no your best friend. Like if there's a chapter in my book that's like, make no your new bestie. And like if no and rejection and failure is like, yes, that's growth. That's something I can learn. That's leading me closer to something that's even better, even a bigger opportunity. Then you're free from that fear of, oh, maybe I'll never get it, right? That's why people stop because they're like, it's just not working. Maybe I'll never get it. Maybe I just need to shift directions. And then they shift too quickly and they shift before it happened, right? It only takes one yes to kickstart that momentum. And for like, here's a great example is like my word of the year this year was content. I was like, I'm going to produce so much content and I'm going to build a huge audience because I'm not going to go a day without posting. Okay. The whole beginning of the year, we were spending a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort in producing an absurd amount of content. And we were not getting any return. Okay. Wow. Nothing was working. Instagram did not like me. TikTok, it was okay. Not really. It was like just not working. It was like, okay, I'm posting and I don't feel like anybody's seeing it. And this was all year, but I kept going. I didn't stop. I think a lot of people would have stopped halfway through and stopped investing time, stopped investing energy because it's just like there was no ROI. I've seen a lot of people do that. Oh, I'm going to pull out. I didn't pull out because I was like, nope. My confidence is going to come from me sticking to my commitment that I made with myself all year, no matter what. I'm sticking to this commitment, even if it doesn't work. Okay. We're producing content every day. It just takes one yes. In November, last month, I got one video that took off. It's got like 2 million views now. Wow. And because that one silly video that got 2 million views went viral, now Instagram is working. Now I'm gaining
it's like
followers a day. November, Renee. It took all year. Okay. So people may see it and be like, you're crushing it. No, it didn't really take off for that specific bucket until November. Wow. So don't pick up before it happens for you.
It's kind of like you spent these 11 months, like turning all these dials, kind of like I think of like a safe box, right? You have to click it to the number and then click it to the number because you're having all of these numbers create the sequence for you to unlock the safe. So it's kind of like all the content you've created for the last, 11 months before you hit your viral video was like all of these safety codes being clicked to get into place to finally be like, bam, you're unlocked. And now it's like Instagram now recognizes you.
Yeah. It's crazy. And that's really how it worked. And so I want to make sure everyone listening, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20 or what looks like somebody else's chapter 20, because many of us stop ourselves before we even get started because we get online and we see someone that's been doing it for a long time and been clicking all the numbers, trying to figure it out for a long time. And you don't see that behind the scenes stuff. You just see the beautiful chapter 20. And it's very frustrating because it's like, oh, I could never do that because that person's already done it or they've already gotten that far, and it frustrates you. But remember that everybody started somewhere. And I feel like it's my responsibility to share, listen, this year I started and it wasn't working until it worked. And I still get rejected for stages. And it's still a struggle every day. I still get heard no. I still mess up. I still fail. But I'm each time I do, I get a lot more confident. And each time I get over that failure and get to the next step, I click another, like what you said, this great analogy, I click another thing into the lockbox and I open up another box or I open up another opportunity. And that's how growth happens. But if you stop yourself before you even get started or before you get that first no or right after the first or the second no, you'll never realize your chapter 20. So don't just compare yourself to somebody like you've been doing this podcast forever. Not forever. It looks like, you put the work.
It feels like forever. But yes.
I remember when you started.
2 and a bit years ago, 3 almost. Yeah, I don't even know how. It's been a while.
Yeah. So it could be really easy for someone to be like, I'm not going to start a podcast because it's not perfect like Renee's and shit. I don't have all those listeners, but you've been putting the work in for a really long time that they don't 100%. Necessarily see.
Yeah. And I love that metaphor now going back to the combination. It's like some combinations are 4 numbers, right? And some combinations are 12. We just don't know the length of the combination for this thing that we're trying to unlock.
Yeah.
And you figured it out.
Easy. Sometimes it happens easy.
Yeah,
so sometimes you get a little bit of luck. Sometimes you get a great opportunity and you take it at the right time. You get that unicorn that comes across your desk and you jump on the unicorn. It's your job to jump on it when you see it though. Many people don't jump on their unicorns, right? But sometimes that happens and it's like easy. And I think a mistake that some people make is they get something that happens easy and then the next thing is hard. So they're like, oh, I thought it was supposed to be easy all the time. I'm not going to do it. Right. So you have to know like, all right, some things are going to come easy. Some things are going to take a little bit of work. And it's just like, that's the beauty of life and business. And the people that are successful, just they keep going no matter what. They take the easy ones and they celebrate them, and they celebrate the hard ones just as much as they celebrate the easy ones.
Yes, I love it. No, your journey has been amazing because you were a co-host on TV. And so tell us, back up a little bit. The whole like working with Chris, your now husband at, was it Super Connector? What's it called? The name of Super Connector Media. Because you guys like didn't really start that, right? That was Chris's gig. And then you came in and helped like blow it up, essentially.
Yeah. So it wasn't called Super Connector Media when I started with Chris. It was just Chris Winfield. In fact, when I started working with him, my email address was jen@chriswinfield.com. And I was like, this is terrible. Yeah. I am Jen at my boyfriend. I don't think it's bad.
I had that too, Renee@danmartell.com. I still have
did?
That. Oh, I still have it. Yeah. I know. It's kind of cringe, right?
Yeah, it's kind of cringe. But I did it. And it was just Chris Winfield. And we built Super Connector Media together. That's when I came along. But it was very scary for me to come on to something that he was the face of it. He had built it. And I was the girlfriend coming in. And I really did, in a lot of ways, have to earn my stripes in a big way. And it was very scary, and a lot of fear, and a lot of imposter syndrome, and a lot of like fear of not being good enough, and moving through that. And I learned a lot of lessons along the way. And also, you know, this working with your partner that you're in a relationship with and also business partners with is definitely always a work in progress. And when we started, we had a lot to learn, and it took a while for us to get to where we are now in the way that we work together, which I would say is pretty damn good. But before, it wasn't.
Yeah, men seem to know, at least in my experience, when to just shut off work, and almost like everything that happened before that moment is just off the table for discussion. But women are just like, but the way you talked to me in that meeting is totally unacceptable. And now we're at the dinner table with the kids, right? The women bring it into the personal lives. Men are so good at just like putting all that stuff into like a little cube and saying, that's not now. And I find
maybe your man is good at that.
Yeah. Not Chris. Okay. We're learning a lot about Chris. You guys built this huge, beautiful, incredible company working with amazing people, training thousands of people. And then what happened this year?
So this year, well, we had two buckets of our company, really. Well, actually three. We had events, we had our mastermind, our training, our education, and our courses. And then we had our PR agency. So we accidentally built this agency because one day at an event, someone came up to us and said, hey, I don't want done with you services. I don't want to learn. I want done for you. Could you do it for me? So we're like, sure, we can figure that out. And so we started doing done for you PR for this one client, and it was working. And then somebody else wanted it, and then somebody else wanted it. And before we knew it, we had this big PR agency where we were representing some of the biggest personal brands and tech startups and companies and products in the world. And we had all these publicists working for us. We had this agency. We did not plan on this. It happened by accident. We just kept giving what people wanted. And alongside that, we had our events that were really amazing and fun and fulfilling and successful. And then we had our programs, our mastermind, our courses, our online challenges, all of those things. And, you know, obviously during the pandemic, we couldn't do the in-person events. So we really doubled down on virtual events. We figured out how to pivot and really crush it in the area of online challenges and communities and things like that. But in the background, we had this agency running the whole time. And then this year, we looked at everything and what brought us the most joy and what was the most, I wouldn't say the most profitable, because our agency was a very, very profitable arm of our company. It was working really, really well. But it wasn't profitable in the way of bringing us joy. We didn't love it. We built it by accident. And we were noticing that the people that we were teaching, they were getting just as good, if not better results than our agency clients, because they were owning the information. They were owning their relationships. They weren't just renting it and letting somebody else do it. They actually were like knowing the information that they needed to be able to pitch. So they were getting unbelievable results on their own. And they were having transformations in their mindset and their life and their relationships. It was just so fulfilling and wonderful. And the agency was taking a lot of our energy, and it wasn't something that filled us up. So we asked ourselves, what would happen if we took our energy away from something that we weren't enjoying and we put it into the thing that we absolutely loved? We're like, wow, well, we could really blow up this area that we love, the events and the programs and the teaching and the transformation and everything like that. So we took a big risk and we got rid of an arm of our company that was incredibly profitable. And a lot of people would say, don't fix what's not broken. Like, why would you do that? It's working, on its own. It does well. And we took a big risk and we had that arm of our company acquired and got rid of it, and we couldn't be happier. So it was a big decision that we had to make this year, and it was a big shift, and it was a lot of energy for us to do that, to transition our entire company and to transition that entire arm out and do all of that. But for anybody that is sitting here thinking like, wow, there is an area of my life that I'm holding on to that doesn't serve me anymore, that doesn't make me happy, that doesn't bring me joy, but I'm holding on to it just because I feel like I have to, I would really inspire you to think what would happen or what could happen if you allowed yourself to give yourself permission to maybe take that energy that you're pouring into something that you don't love and put it towards something that you do and see what happens. And that's what we decided to do this year. And it's working so far.
Right? Because you want to. Like I have this shelf behind my lights that has a trophy I won, the book that I wrote and published, my planner, covers of magazines, all the things that I accomplished during my days of running my PR agency. And I never want to discount all these things that I've achieved, but I get it. Like I get the stress. Agency is tough and it could be very lucrative. We actually went through due diligence to sell it, but then all these things happened and I burnt out. And I was like, I'm not going to work for somebody else for 3 years to get my earn out. It's either I do it or nobody. Like nobody gets this. But I get it. And then focusing on the things you love to do, because then you just do them better with more magic.
Yeah.
So what's your focus today?
Man, well, right now, my personal focus, my book is coming out on October 2023. I'm publishing a major book with Hay House, and I couldn't be more excited about that. So we're like in the final, cover, we're designing the cover, the fun part, final edits, all of that stuff. So we're going to be marketing that book. And then for our company, we're doing our first huge live event. So we're going to be doing a 500 person event coming up in May. We've only always done 100 to 125 people. So this is going to be our first mega major event. So we're planning on that. We've got a lot of just pouring ourselves into our mastermind, which is our main offer where we teach marketing, money, mindset, and media, all of the M's that you need in your business to build a profitable brand. And I'm just excited to continue speaking all over the place, writing my book or finishing my book, publishing my book, and teaching people how to be seen, because I know that the people that we teach, or anyone that's listening to this right now, I have a feeling if your audience is one of these people that has a service, a product, or a story that helps people in a big way. So the more that you can be visible and allow those people to find you by being visible is the more that you can create an impact on this planet. Mm-hmm. So I feel like part of my responsibility is to help those people be seen and help those people build brands that attract people to them so they can help more people leave their legacy and create more of an impact on the planet.
Yes. Okay. So your big event in May, is it in New York?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not. We've always only done events in New York, which is a very expensive place to do events. So we are no longer doing events in New York, big ones. We haven't solidified the city. We're solidifying it this week. So we're deciding between a few. So I will let you know as soon as we decide that. But it won't be in New York, and it's going to be all about building your brand. And we're going to be having big celebrity speakers, and it's going to be epic 3 days. I'm really excited about it.
Oh my gosh, this is so full circle for you, right? How you're like, you want to speak on bigger stages, but now you get to be the gatekeeper of who comes and speaks on your stage.
Yeah.
I love this. Share with us when all this goes live, because I will definitely share it too, because maybe I want to come to this event in May. Oh. Do you feel it's open right now?
You should come.
I'm not going anywhere in May yet. Okay, we could talk forever, but I do have one last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
To be a wild woman means to unapologetically speak your truth and go for what you want. And that feels wildly powerful to me, because when I used to just dim my light to make other people feel better or make other people feel secure within themselves, be like, oh, I'll just stay quiet and I'm not going to be fully me, nothing would happen for me. And I would feel really out of alignment and really stuck. But the second that I was like, screw it, I'm just going to be as me as humanly possible and unapologetic for who I am and shine my light. It helped other people, inspire other people to shine theirs. It didn't make them feel insecure. It actually made them feel more empowered. Who knew? And it felt wild and free. So that's what that feels like to me.
That's so true. I just shared this the other day. I said, I'm sick and tired of worried about whose feelings I'm going to hurt or who I might offend, sharing who I am, the full expression of me. Instead, I'm going to just shine my light. I'm not going to be a tugboat. I'm going to be a lighthouse where I'm going to shine as bright as I can so that you can see where you're going. And I'll never dim my light for other people. I'll never turn it off for other people. If you don't need my light, I'm going to keep it on for you anyway, because maybe there's a moment that you need it. And I said that thinking all I'm going to get are people that are offended by me saying I'm not apologizing for offending you. I got so many beautiful messages. Renee, you've been a lighthouse for me for years. Thank you. All of these people coming and sharing their stories. And I thought, wow, okay, if this isn't a reason to shine brighter, then I won't see it anywhere else. And so I love that you said that, is just being unapologetically yourself, because you were put on this earth as who you are with your thoughts and your beliefs and your charisma, because the world needs that version of you for other people, for yourself. And so I think it's a beautiful message. Yeah.
Thank you. I love that. And that's the way that you're going to stand out, because there's a million other people that do what you do. Everybody does some version of, what somebody else does, but there's only one Renee. The way that you speak, the way that you deliver your message, the way that you say the words that come out of your mouth, there's only one you. And so there's going to be people that only resonate with you. So the more you can be, the more you're going to call in the audience that needs to hear only what you have to say, the way that 100%. You have to say it.
Yes. Yes. I love this. Well, thank you, Jen, for being such a beacon. If people want to go online to find you, where can they go?
Simplest place is Instagram, because everything happens there. There's a link tree there where you can get all my stuff. So at Jen_Gottlieb.
And your podcast too. I know in one of your last episodes, maybe all of them, you have this download for New Year's stuff.
Yeah. It's the best year blueprint. It is the New Year's planning strategy that myself and Chris do every year. It works. It's simple. It's easy. You don't have to set a single New Year's resolution. It's 3 parts. So I have a free PDF where you can download the journal prompts and then a video of me explaining it. It's super dope. I highly recommend, if you're listening to this, get your whole family involved, print it out, have everybody do one, and set up the best 2023 you could possibly do.
Yes. Well, I'm excited to see what comes to you for 2023. But Jen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Renee. This was so much fun. I knew it would be.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.